MA Previous Drawing and Painting paper History of Indian Art. Topic is Ajanta Cave. Present by Ms. Preeti Kaushal, Assistant Professor Kanodia PG Mahila Mahavidyalaya, Jaipur. My topic is the Ajanta Caves. Uh, General information of Ajanta Caves are the Ajanta Cave in Aurangabad district of Maharashtra state of India are about 30 rock-cut Buddhist cave monuments which date from the 2nd century BCE to uh, about 480 or 650 CE. The caves are in the form of horseshoe. The majority of painting has more than 1500 years. The walls and ceiling wonderfully had been decorated and with plaster applications had created colorful painting. Ajanta history. The cave include painting and rock cut sculpture described as among the finest. Surviving example of ancient Indian art, particularly expressive paintings that present emotions through gesture, pose, and forms. According to UNESCO, these are masterpieces of Buddhist religious art that influenced Indian art that followed. Uh, The caves were built in two phases. The first group starting around the 2nd century BC, while the second group of caves built around 400 to 650 CE according to older accounts, or all in a brief period of 460 to 480 according to Walter M. Spink. Caves of the first Satvana period, the earliest group constructed consists of cave number 9, 10, 9, 10, 12, 13 and 15A. This grouping and they belongs to Haryana as uh, Theravada tradition of Buddhism and is generally accepted by scholars, but there are differing opinions on which century that early caves were built. They were made during the period 100 BCE to 100 CE, probably under the patronage of the Hindu Satvana dynasty. Uh, in period to 30 BCE to 20 CE, who ruled the religion. Other datings prefer the period of Maurya Empire 300 BCE to 100 BCE. Of the cave number 9, 10 stupa containing worship hall of Jatyagraha from and caves 12 and 13 and 15A are Biharas. Caves of the later or Vatika period. The second phase of construction at the Ajanta Caves site began in the 5th century. For a long time, it was thought that the later caves were made over an extended period from the 4th to 7th century CE, uh, but in recent decades, a series of studies by the leading expert on the case, Walter M. Spink, uh, have argued the that most of the work took place over the very brief imperial Harishna of the Vatika dynasty. The view has been criticized by some scholars but now broadly accepted by most authors of general book of on Indian art. The example Huntington and Harley, cave number 26, a second period Mahayana style worship hall with stupa and ideals. The second phase is attributed to the theistic Mahayana and greater vehicle tradition of Buddhism. Cave of the second period are 1 to 8, 11, uh, 14 to 29, some possibly extension of earlier caves. Caves number 19, 26 and 29 are chaptered grahas, the rest viharas. The most elaborate caves was produced in this period, which included some refurbishing and repainting of early caves. Spring that Spring states that it is possible to establish dating from for this period with a very high level of precision. Uh, fuller account of his chronology is given below. Architecture and sculpture. The caves are carved out of fluid basalt rock of cleft part of the Deccan Traps formed by successive uh, volcanic Europeans, Euro-Ocean at the end of the criticized geological period. Geological period. The rock is layered horizontally and somewhat variable in quality. This variation within the rock layers required the artist to amend their carving method and plans in the places. The inhomogeneity in the rock have also led the cracks and collapse in the centuries that followed, as which the lost portico to cave number 1. Architecture and sculpture. The sculpture artist likely worked at both excavating the rock and making intricate carving of pillar, roof, and idols. Further, the sculpture and painting work inside a cave were in integrated uh, parallel tasks. A, a grand gateway to the site was carved at the apex of the George Horseshoe uh, between caves 15 to 16, 15 and 16 as approached from the river, and it is decorated with an elephants on either uh, side and uh, side and a naga or protective nagas, snake deities. Similar method and application of artist talent is observed in other cave temples of India Although many with very different themes, such as those from Hinduism and Jainism.